Okay, I am recording now. And there's feedback. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. I am recording. All right, if we have to go over the integer rules because you will have to use them today. If you're multiplying a positive with a positive, your answer or your product will be a positive. If you're multiplying a negative with a negative, your answer becomes positive. So the rule is if you're multiplying two integers that have the same sign, your answer will always be positive. It changes as soon as your signs change. So if you're multiplying a positive with a negative, your answer will be negative. If you're multiplying a negative with a positive, your answer will be negative. This is in your ISEN. If you don't have this foldable in your ISEN, I will get you a new copy. Okay, look down below. We're going to look at what do you do to multiply a fraction and an integer. Okay, so the integer on the first example is the whole number 6, and then the fraction is 2/3. So when we do this, you want to take any of your whole numbers and turn them into in fraction form without changing the value of the integer. So how can we change 6 into something that's in fraction form without changing the value?
So you times 6 times 3 and add 2?
So what you can do is can I just put 6 over 1? Is that in fraction form? Yes. Have I changed the value of my 6? No, it's still worth 6, right? So when I multiply, I'm going to go ahead and set it up like multiply and then 2/3. So your problem would look like this. Now, the rule is before you multiply, you can cross simplify. This will make your life easier when you go to simplify at the very end. To cross simplify, you want to look at those numbers that are across from each other or diagonal. So if you look at 1 and 2, do they share any factors? No. Look at 6 and 3. Do they share any factors? Yes. What do they share? 3. So we're going to take 3 out by dividing. So we're going to go 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Why put it away? It's a distraction. Okay? Once you do that, then you go ahead and multiply across the top. 4, 2 times 2, and multiply across the bottom. 1. And then simplify. What's your final answer? 4. All right, both of my numbers were positive, so my answer should be positive. Look at my next one. I have the integer -2, but I have a mixed number that is 3 and 1/5. What you must do with your fractions before you put them into a multiplication problem is you have to change your mixed numbers into an improper fraction. And remember, to do that, you go 5 times 3 is 15, and then you add your numerator. 15 plus 1 is 16, and you put it over your existing denominator. Okay? Because if you thought about 3 wholes that are cut into 5 sections, how many sections do you have? 15. And then if you had 1/5 piece section left over, you would have how many 5th pieces total? 16 of them. So we have to use 16/5. So I'm going to come back down here. I'm going to rewrite my problem. I need to write -2 in fraction form without changing the value. So I could just place it over 1. I have to keep it negative though. Do you see how I did that? Multiplied by 16 over 5. Check to see if you can cross simplify before you multiply. Do 16 and 1 share anything? No, besides 1. -2 and 5? No, so I have to go ahead and multiply across the top. -2 times 16 is a negative.
32.
Very good, 32. 5 times 1 is 5. Now, we have to put it back into mixed number form. We cannot just leave it like this. So to do this, it's like saying -32 divided by 5. So you can ask yourself, how many times will 5 go into 32 without going over? 6 times. And then I go 5 times 6 is 30. So we're going to subtract 30 from 32. I would get 2 left over. 2/5. Now, at the very end, you need to double check your integer rules. I started with a negative times a positive, so my answer should be negative. So before I'm done, I need to make sure that I very clearly have a negative symbol in front of my final answer. Okay? And I would maybe even circle the final answer because it's kind of hard to tell what my final answer is here because I squished all my numbers on the edge of my page. I don't want you to do that, okay? All right. What do we do if we are going to multiply a fraction with a fraction? Good.
Don't you like switch bubbles?
That's a good question. That's only with division. You only do reciprocals when you are dividing with fractions. But we're only multiplying. So we're just going to go cross simplify before you multiply, and then multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. I'm going to rewrite it off to the side. Negative 3/5 times a negative 1/4. Okay, can you cross simplify before you multiply? No, 5 and 1 don't share anything, 3 and 4 don't share anything. Okay, I'm going to multiply across the top, 3 times 1, 5 times 4. Okay, before I just finish this problem, I need to check my integer rules. I want a negative times a negative, positive, so I can leave it. All right, the next one, 5/12 times a negative 12/5. Cross simplify before you multiply. 5 and 5 share 5. So I'm going to go 5 divided by 5, 1. 5 divided by 5, 1. Make sure you put one clear line through your number so you don't use 15. It's 12, negative 12 and 12. Okay. Cross simplify the other way. 12 and a negative 12 share what? 12. So I'm going to go 12 divided by 12, 1. 12 divided by 12, 1. So I'm going to go 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Check your integer rules. Positive times a negative?
Negative.
Okay, good. And then I could simplify it to just a negative 1. Okay, let's talk about multiplying with decimals. You have a negative 5 and 2/10 times a negative 5. Okay, so what you need to do is when you are working this problem on paper, not with a calculator, you need to stack your number with the most digits on top. Okay, so I'm going to put negative 5 and 2/10 on top times 5. Okay, and you need to line it up like this so that you know that you need to go 5 times 2 first, which is 10, carry the 1. And then you're going to go 5 times 5 is 25 plus 1. Take care of your decimals. The total number of decimal jumps in both of your factors is how many? 1 decimal jump, which means you're going to do 1 decimal jump down in your product. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to do 1 decimal jump, 26. I'm not done. Check your integer rules. I went to negative times a negative. It's a positive. So my final answer would be 26. Do you think this is a 0? That's just showing that I'm doing 1 decimal jump. I don't want you guys to do that.
I thought it was a 0.
No, it's not a 0. Sorry. I'm just showing you that because you have 1 decimal jump here, you're going to have 1 decimal jump in your product. Okay, down below, you have a negative 7/100 times 4 6/10. This is how, let me clarify. I said to put your number with the most digits where? On top. But, let me clarify. It needs to be digits of value. So when you look at that negative 7/100, you have 2 zeros in front of it. They're just placeholders in this case, right? So I would put your 4 6/10 on top, and then your negative 7/100 on bottom. And what happens is I didn't line this up very well. I want that 7 right underneath my 6. Okay? Just so it's kind of lined up like we're multiplying 46 times 7. It's being really slow, sorry. I want it to look kind of like 46 times 7. Because it's cleaner and easier to see your multiplication. And then at the end, you go and take care of your decimal jumps. So I'm going to go 6 times 7 first. What is it? 42. 7 times 4. 28. Plus 4. 32. Now I take care of my decimal jumps. How many decimal jumps do I have total in my factors? 3. I have 1, 2, 3. So that means I need to start here and I need to go 1, 2, 3. So my final answer would be a 0 to hold the ones place, a 3, a 2, and a 2. Take care of your integer rules. Do not forget. Negative times a positive? Negative. Final answer. Any questions on that? Okay. Andrew walks his dog 1/8 of a mile each day. Shh. What is the total distance that Andrew walks his dog in a 5-day week? Okay, so what do you ask to find? Yeah, so the distance for the whole week. What information are you going to use? Per day. And a 5 days is what he walks. Okay, so remember when we talked about last year's, if you see the word each in a word problem, it's a pretty good indicator that you're going to do one of two operations. Multiplying if you're trying to find a total, and dividing if you already have a total. Okay, so are we finding a total, or do we have a total? We're finding a total. So we're going to multiply. So we're going to go, he walks 1/8 miles each day, but he's going to do it for 5 days. All right, so we need to set up both of our numbers into fraction form. 1/8 times 5/1. Good. Check to cross simplify before you multiply. You cannot do it. 5 and 8 don't share anything. Multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. Is it simplified? Yep. What do I have left? Miles, it's a word problem. Okay.
That one you could just like look at and be like, I know.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, recording is back on. Okay, let's look at the first one, number 14. I know it's kind of hard to see here, but if you can look at your textbook if you want to. We need to set it up. How are we going to set it up? 5/1 times 1/7. Multiply across the top. Be good listeners, please. Don't be rude. 5/7. Could we cross simplify before we multiplied? No. Let's do the next one. Number 15. How are we going to set it up? Okay. So first we need to change our mixed number into an improper fraction. We're going to go 6 times 1. 6 plus 5 is 11/6. Now let's set up the problem down below. What are we going to do? -3/1 times 11/6. Can we cross simplify?
No, we can't.
Yes, we can. We can do 3 and 6. 3 and 6 share 3. So we're going to go divide by 3 is 1. Divide by 3 is 2. Now, maintain that negative number. So you have to say -1 times 11. Hang on, don't jump ahead. What's -1 times 11? -11. What's 1 times 2? 2. You need to change mixed numbers back into, you need to change improper fractions back into a mixed number. So how many times will 2 go into a -11? 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. What's left over? 1/2. And remember, this fraction was negative, which means your final fraction should be negative. -5.5 should be your final answer. Okay, any questions on that? Where you're probably most likely to go wrong is if you forget to check your integer rules at the end. People that are having side conversations, don't be rude. Okay, multiplying decimals. The first one we have is negative 1 7/10 times a negative 4. How are we going to set it up? Which one will go on top? Okay, negative 1.7 times negative 4. And put that 4 right underneath your 7, so it kind of looks like 17 times 4. 4 times 7. 28. Carry the 2. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. How many decimal jumps in your factors? Only 1. So you're only going to do 1 decimal jump in your product. Negative times a negative is a positive. Okay. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try number 33. I know it's kind of hard to see, but it says negative 75 hundredths times a positive 5 and 5/10. How would you stack this?
5 and 5/10 on top.
This one, you have two and 2 digits, right? So it's okay. You can treat it as like 75 times 55. That's fine. So we're going to go negative. Oh, I'm going to just put 75 hundredths on top. It's okay. You want your 5 and your 5 to be right below the digits of value up above. We're going to multiply. 5 times 5 is what? 25. You're going to have to bear with me on this connection speed here. 5 times 7, this is number 33. 5 times 7 is good. 35 plus 2, 37. Now, we finished multiplying the 5 to the numbers up above. We need to hold the place with the 0 here. I would erase anything that you carried so it's out of the way. And now you need to multiply the 5 in the 1's place here.
Wouldn't you carry the 0 with the 0 and then 5 is
Yeah. Back on the 37, yeah, because you'd carry it up here. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. Okay, so remember, when you move to do the other 5 multiplication, you have to hold this place with the 0. Now you can go 5 times 5 is, carry the 2 above the 7, 25.
37.
Yeah, let me erase this. Okay, 5 times 7 is 35, plus 2 is 37. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. Now, we have to put these back together by adding. 7 plus 5, 12, 10, 11, and 4. How many decimal jumps are in your factors? 3, which means you need to do 3 decimal jumps in your product. Now, check your integer rules. You have a negative times a positive is a negative. Okay, please make sure you pay attention to your integer rules, because if you forget to put that little tiny baby negative sign in front of your answer, the whole thing's going to be wrong. Because a negative 4 and 125 thousandths is not the same as a positive 4 and 125 thousandths. All that work for nothing. Okay, is there any questions on this?